So we're going to talk about War Dogs, which is the movie that brought the three of you together. You know, a lot of movies get billed as being, based on a true story, but this one is a totally true story, and it's a pretty crazy story. These people, the two protagonists of the film, these young men who basically became arms traders during the Iraq War, and the shenanigans and adventures and misadventures that they got into. Todd, maybe you want to start off by just talking a little bit about, the story of David Packouz and Ephraim Diveroli, how it came to your attention and what interested you.
Well, it came to my attention by an article in Rolling Stone magazine. In fact, the New York Times also had a big article about this story, but the Rolling Stone article got sent to me when we were shooting Hangover 2. I remember we were flying to Bangkok, and I was reading this article, and I thought, boy, this is really, this could be a movie. And a lot of times you'll read an article and you think, oh, this could be a movie, and as you start to unpack it and investigate it, you go, you know what, this is actually better off as an article. It's not supposed to be a movie. But this thing, as we kept investigating it and doing our own research, we realized it just got bigger, and it just felt like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. So it started like that, and we started writing a screenplay, and it just kind of evolved.
This is sort of my interpretation of the film, or my perception of the characters, but you've got the one young man, Ephraim, played by Jonah, who's sort of the self-assured, experienced, a little bit cocky kind of guy. You've got David, who is more of the neophyte, the one brought under Ephraim's wing. What made you think of the two actors that we have here on stage tonight to play those roles?
Well, I've said this before, but we wrote the movie for Jonah. When I read the article and read about Ephraim, I really thought, oh man, Jonah Hill could just kill this part. I mean, Jonah, I hate to talk about Jonah in front of him, but Jonah is, he's electric. I mean, when he shows up in movies, I feel like he vibrates, and he's somebody I've always tried to work with. We offered Jonah a part in The Hangover, and he turned us down. And that's fine and fair, no hard feelings, and we move on. And in fact, even when we went to him with this story, he at first, he said no at first. We kind of reworked on the script, went back to Jonah. He
said
was
no
available.
again.
No, he said yes. And anyway, so for me, it's a lot of times when you do a movie, it's about finding one person to kind of build the movie around. And for me, it was just always Jonah. This movie, when he said yes, Miles was my first guy to go to. I had met Miles. I produced this little movie called Project X that Miles had a really small part in, but we became friends on that set. And so I went to Miles and thought he'd be a great sort of other guy.
But there also was a little bit of time to rehearse and to kind of get into the characters a little bit, or just really just...
On this one, not really, because Miles had a really busy schedule before we ended, right? You were...
I had to play the other guy in a ton of movies.
He was busy doing the other guy role, and so it is kind of like... We might have rehearsed for 1 or 2 days at Warner Brothers, and then the next time we saw him, we were in Bucharest in Romania, which doubles for Albania in the movie, and we started shooting.
Yeah, that was a really insane way to start a movie. Like, we started in Bucharest, which none of us had ever been to before, so it was kind of cool because the characters were so out of their elements in that sequence of the movie, and I can only speak for myself, but I was very out of my element in Romania. It was really interesting way to start. Usually you start with some simpler scenes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we definitely.
To ease you into the movie, but we kind of just started, which was exciting. Like right in the thick of a big sequence.
Yeah, you got to find that dynamic between these two guys who, they're friends, they're rivals, and there's a whole bunch of emotions between them, and you're basically diving into, one of the harder parts of the film before you really have that figured out, perhaps.
But what was actually good was that the characters were really close when they were young, but then there was a big gap where they hadn't seen each other, so it was kind of, okay that we didn't spend a ton of time beforehand, because in the movie, they're reacquainting themselves with one another.
Yeah, it's true.
If I've ever been good, even for a second in a movie, it's because of the person I'm acting opposite of, And the movie, if there's a selfish actor in a scene, I don't care how brilliant that actor is, the scene just will not be great. There's no really great scene that I can imagine where it's not two people wanting the other person, both people wanting the other person to score or be successful. But yeah, all of the fun is just like a lot of times I like, you know, when you watch stand-up comedy, like I could never do stand-up comedy if my life depended on it, because you're up there by yourself. You know, the whole joy of all of this to me is like sitting in a room with somebody else, and at the end of it, you've created something together.
Sort of ideas and principles that you just talked about, that they still apply in a film like Wolf of Wall Street.
Of course, yeah. It doesn't matter. Again, like I don't want to be repetitive in any way. Before I would do any movie, it's just like, are these people better than me? Because I want to just yeah, like this too. I'm saying like you want to work with people who are better than you so you can learn and they bring you up. You know, like you are made better by the people you are filling your life with, even if it's just in your life, family, friends, whoever, you know, and that was a completely different experience than Moneyball, but, you know, unbelievable. I mean, you know, I don't need to tell you, like, Martin Scorsese or Leonardo DiCaprio are talented, you know, like, you know, it's like pretty, speaks for itself, but yeah, I think what was fun about that and interesting was Leo and Marty Scorsese, everyone kind of lived that energy on set. It was so exciting because the energy of what we were making was so, these people were like locomotives heading into each other, you know? There was just that world and the stock market at that time and what these people were doing was so, the energy was so chaotic and insane that it was, you know, Moneyball was very like quiet, like the set was like quiet, and this was like chaos, you know, like if you've seen the movie, it's, you know, cool. It's cool how movies sort of take on the energy.
I mean, they say it's really important to set the tone of the movie on the set of the movie.
Right.
I actually think Steven Spielberg once said that, and it's so true. And I was just thinking about that with Moneyball and how quiet that scene was, and how I know Bennett, and sort of how quiet Bennett
You could hear a pin drop every day on that set.
And then to contrast it with Scorsese and Wolf of Wall Street and you guys, it must have been.
Yeah, it was a cool experience.
Yeah. And now, I mean, you've got another film, I think it's coming out later this year, where you play the boxer, Vinny Paz.
I only had about 3 weeks worth of boxing training, which is unheard of, but this business, you're always in kind of 3 places at once. Like, I'm filming a movie right now. I'm in Santa Fe.
You guys are
cameras are everywhere.
This is it, and you're on it, and you're in it.
It's called boring talk.
Yeah. So it's no cuts, it's one shot.